Hi guys, I'm ArchieLuxury and welcome to the ArchieLuxury corporate program, the Paul Pluter Prestige channel and ArchieLuxury General. Today guys, I want to talk to you about the fact that Rolex is too damn expensive. That's right guys, let's face it. As collectors in this wristwatch community, we really gotta watch our coin. Many of us male folk are married, we've got children, we got commitments. Life ain't cheap. And when our hobby is collecting luxury wristwatches, well, things just got very, very expensive. The big problem is with luxury wristwatches is the cost. If you want to buy affordable, cheap, nasty wristwatches, they really don't have cachet, prestige, class. They don't have that oomph factor. See, when we have a really nice wristwatch on our wrist, when some guy says to us, wow, that's a cool watch. Yes, it's a $5,000 to $10,000 stunner. It's not really the same impact if it's a $200 chronograph. Not quite the same. So this is the whole thing. We gotta have heavy hitting pieces. In recent times, Rolex has really skyrocketed. And it's really hurt the secondary market itself there. Rolex wristwatches from 10 to 20 years ago are selling at massive premiums from their new prices and from prices just a few years ago on the secondary market. What do we do? What do we do, trendsetters? What do we do indeed? And the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. What we got to do, we got to get affordable luxury wristwatches. We want bang per buck. We want value. We want a value proposition. So today, I want to talk to you about 3 brands which represent some very, very decent value without sacrificing horological excellence. That's right, we want stunners. We want horological stunners. So I want to present 3 brands which really, in this point in time in the marketplace, are good buying. They're good buying and they're good value. So let's kick off this journey. Now, about 10 to 20 years ago, one of the hottest brands in the marketplace was Panerai. That's right, the Italian wristwatch, which was designed for Italian Navy SEALs. This was a cool piece. The original Panerai product itself was fitted with a Rolex movement. It had a custom designed case which gave it special properties for diving expeditions. The pieces were larger size because they were designed to be fitted on top of a wetsuit. Panerai itself there, it kind of died a death, but came back to life in the 90s and was eventually taken over by Richemont Group. That's the people who own Cartier. They own quite a lot of luxury brands indeed. So, Panerai, what's some good pieces? What do you pay? What's the margins? What's the go? Well, the funny thing is, 10 years ago, Panerais were like Rolexes today. They were selling for big premiums. You would actually buy a Panerai at retail. It'd basically hold its own. It didn't flop. It didn't fall. It held its own. So this is very, very interesting indeed there. The Panerai bubble burst. It burst for a number of reasons. Least to say was Richemont itself. A lot of Panerai pieces, when Richemont took them over and Rolex was no longer at that stage providing movements to other makers. So Panerai went to ETA, like a lot of brands in the 90s, and they used ETA movements, which then the big problem is that a lot of fake Panerais, anything that's wanted, that somebody in China tries to make a shortcut to that solution. And what happened was, well, you guessed it, there was no way of really verifying whether your PAM is an original PAM or a high-end fake. Panerai didn't help the matter because they never really offered authentication services. They could have turned this into a gold mine. They could have said, no problems, we'll authenticate it, it's $100, and they could have built a database. The problem is, so many of these luxury watchmakers have no idea about secondary market importance. They have no idea on social media or this whole secondary market which drives the new market. If somebody can buy a watch and be pretty self-assured that they're not going to lose too much, well, guess what? That'll help new sales. Richemont has completely missed the point. They've missed the boat. So what does that mean? Very little support on the secondary market from Richemont. They don't understand this. Patek Philippe realizes the importance of the secondary market. That's why they buy classic Pateks at auction. They're funding the archives, they're building the archives, and they're buying their own former products and saying what a great investment they are. If only Panerai had the brains and lacked the ego to copy a great idea. But anyhow, with that said, Panerai itself did a few other stupid things. It wasn't just the fact that they wouldn't offer authentication services. It also came down to the fact that Panerai started releasing, how do we put this, not so waterproof Panerai watches, which is an oxymoron in itself there, because Panerai has always been a diving type watch. So when you offer 30 meters water resistance, I'm afraid that's not going to cut it. The other horror story came out when Panerai, instead of using their famous screw to put the straps, rubber straps, etc. on the watch, they decided to go with conventional spring bars to save money. Very bad move, Richemont. So Panerai's bubble has sort of burst. Well, it's burst in a big way. Today on the Panerai market, there are many, many good watches. Now, 10 to 15 years ago, these were hot. These pieces were so hot, people were actually selling Rolex steel sports watches to buy Panerai. Can you believe it? And that just shows you how good the wristwatches were. They were not terrible watches at all. They were very, very reasonable indeed. So, you look at this, Panerai itself there. What are some basic rules for buying a Panerai? Well, I always say stick to the icons. You want to buy the watch that Panerai is famous for. I would tend to say stay away from watches that Panerai is just tacked on. Like, I think as a dive watch, avoid chronographs. You don't really want a Panerai chronograph. You don't really want a Panerai GMT. You want a simple diver. That's what you want. I think, stick to the traditions of the brand. The other thing with Panerai is the importance must be stressed. Always buy box, papers, and maybe even receipt. That's correct. To have a receipt is a very, very good thing because it shows it was bought from a retailer or a recognized dealer. And this can't be stressed too strongly. When you're buying Panerai watches themselves there, stick to the basics, the icons, the model that made the brand famous. The other important factor with Panerai is, for some strange reason, white dials seem to be a big no-no. I personally do like a white dial on a sports wristwatch, but I gotta be honest with you, probably better to buy black dial in Panerai itself there. So that's a very, very important characteristics there. Panerai, they were selling above retail. Now you can buy Panerai. You can buy Panerai for big, big savings. You can buy Panerai for massive savings. You've got to haggle hard. When it comes to buying a Panerai, you really do need to do your homework. Check out Chrono24. Check out dealers. And when you go to a dealer, you really want to haggle hard and see what discount you can get there. Panerai, a great brand to buy in this modern time.